We're live.
We're
So
live and alive.
thank goodness. I'm grateful for both. And I'm really excited because Simone and I get to talk today about being out of definition and out of limitation. And so the first thing I want to ask you, which I was driving just before the call, and I was like, when you have a definition or you have a limited point of view, you don't see it because you're so in it. So how do you start to, how do you look under the rocks to find the places that you're doing definition?
Good question. And I think even if you just make that demand of yourself, Emily, just to start, it's oh God, this is unraveling in my world at a rapid rate, and I'm going to say, or like a slow rate too. I am, been using Access Consciousness tools for 22 years now, and man, I feel like I call it baby access when you come back to basics sort of thing, and you're just like, holy shit. And so I'm just going to mention straight off, because I have a call coming up, and that's the reason we'll be brutally honest here. That's the reason why we are doing this live, is to invite you to that. But I think it's going to help because I want to talk about why I created this call as well.
Yeah.
And this is like with your question is, there was a couple of weeks ago, well, actually 5 months ago, I hurt my back in London, and it was excruciating, and it was very full on. And I was facilitating advanced body class in London, and I couldn't go to the last day. I just literally couldn't get up, and it just like slammed me into what the fuck, and having a look at a whole lot of things. And for me, I get the basis is all the definitions that you create of yourself, of your body, of how you choose, what you choose. And there's two parts to this. One is we can, like, elementals, right? Elementals is something that is like, you've got gratitude, joy, like happiness, like, true happiness, like that vulnerability, all of those energies that we talk about so often and we ask for to show up. Yet you can't have those if you are still functioning from definitions. Like if you use, I don't know, money as an example, and it's like, you can't have gratitude for the $10 that you have in your wallet if you have a definition that you are living in poverty and scarcity and that you're poor and you're whatever. If you destroy and uncreate all the definitions you have, it opens you up to a really different space. And I am so grateful for my body, because my body is continuously showing me so many things. And, I think it was 2 weeks ago now that what occurred for me in London was really similar to what occurred for me recently. And I had to get taken to hospital in an ambulance, very, lots of drugs. I was on like morphine and codeine, and very dramatic, yeah. And anyway, but I'm really grateful for all of it. Because you could define that as something that was bad, terrible, awful, wrong, like, oh my goodness, Dios mío sort of thing. And what has come from that has just opened a whole new world of possibilities for me. And I would like to invite people to that. But the piece I think we need to really just start chipping away is, like you said, lifting up that rock, is destroying and uncreating and unraveling all the definitions that you've decided are you.
Yeah.
Like all of it. And to do with, we've got some common theme topics that most people think they have a problem with, it's like relationships, money, business, bodies, parenting, family, like they're really common themes.
Yeah.
But it's a theme. That doesn't have to exist as your quote unquote problem. And even if you start with, you can jump on the call. Great. Love you on there. It's like $88 for 2 days, two
calls.
1-hour calls. Yeah. It's awesome. And if you don't, that's fine too. But the thing that I would start inviting you to is to just ask. It's like those themes that I just mentioned, and you might have your own unique theme that you've defined as so special and fucked up in that area. You're not. It's like, start looking at, what am I defining, what am I creating as the definition of my money? What am I creating as the definition of my relationship, my body, whatever it is, and destroy and uncreate it. right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys, provids, and beyonds. And that's the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement, which is a little link below that you can find out more about it.
Well, can you say, like, with your body example, then, after going through 2 kind of spaces with that intensity, what did you
Yeah.
start to unravel about, like, the definitions with your body, and what was it showing you?
I'm going to say movement is probably number one. Movement and work. And I, you know, man, I love what I do. Like, absolutely love it. And so one of the things, Dane here, who I'm pretty sure everyone here knows, you know, Dr. Dane here, I had a really good conversation with him the other day about this. And he said to me, Simone, you go like 80 miles an hour and everybody else goes 40 miles an hour. And then you slow down to 72 miles an hour and you go, see, I relaxed. And this guy I was talking to yesterday, it was so hilarious. He doesn't know this story. He doesn't know Dane. And he said to me, you know what you remind me of? He said, like the marathon runner. You know, the marathon runner that just keeps going, going, going. And he said they have those people along the side who run with them for a short time to give them water, and they're running with them and they're drinking water, and then you hand it back and that person goes, and then you keep running and then the next person comes. And he was like, that's what you're like. And he was like, why are you pushing yourself so hard? And anyway, it doesn't fucking matter if I go to tears here, because it's been a really vulnerable place for me with my body. And because, dude, you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have this, what's the use of it? You know, it's like, so that's really what I've been looking at, and not forcing anything into play. Like, I like moving my body, and it makes me happy to move my body. But even this morning I woke up and I went, I go to this like, oh, what am I going to do with the movement? Like, and, you know, I have a common theme, like I might go running, or, you know, hiking, you know, Pilates, or do weight session or something like that. And I have just stopped everything, everywhere that I've defined the movement that my body would like. Wow. Destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys, provids, and beyonds. And it's a new muscle, Am. Like, I am really putting my attention on what is my body asking for. And it's only 9 a.m. in the morning. I'm not sure what my body's asking for at the moment. And usually I would have gone to, what can I do? And one of the tools I'm using is asking, what can I be? And one of the things I've noticed is I've gone for quite a few walks in the last week, and I have this beautiful national park that I can walk to from home. Like, it's not that far. It takes me 10 minutes walk to get there, you know. And then, but in this national park, you can, usually I have a track that I would go that gets you to the top of the hill, you know, and down. So it's got, and I found these 3 new tracks in the last week that don't go to the top of the hill, that go around and around. So it was more of this flatter surface, and there's no one there. And I'm like, wow. And the energy of the earth, the land, nature that has contributed to me, just beyond any, you know, quote unquote weight session that can do. And I'm not saying don't do weights, and I'm not saying I'm not going to, but in this 10 seconds, that's not what my body's asking for. So really being that out of definition, out of limitation, out of control with my body, and allowing it to lead me. And we've done that in so many different areas. Like, if you've been using Access Consciousness tools, you've done it. I know you have. Like, you've been to a restaurant and you've gone, what does my body like to eat? Are you really following it? Like, just, there's something different unraveling with destroying and uncreating the definitions that I have of me, my body, movement.
Well, when you said that, and my dog just started growling. That's why I was looking. I was like, maybe he needs to go outside. When you said that about movement, and then you were talking about being on those trails with the earth, and we'd look at what we define movement as, like the things you like, Pilates or weights. And it's like, wow, the movement of the energy of being on the earth without having to force a certain height, but like everything's moving around us all the time.
You know, you just said Pilates, and I have this great story, and I'm sure so many people can relate to this, is because I love Pilates, and my Pilates instructor are friggin' off the charts. I have a reformer at home and everything as well. Like, I think it's wonderful.
So lucky.
So there is a movement in Pilates that is called bridging, right? And the idea of bridging is you're supposed to like roll your spine. So when you roll your spine up and then you're bridging and then you roll your spine back down. So your spine is rolling. I've hated that ever since I started Pilates. There's no movement in Pilates that I go, oh, I hate, but that bridging, and I don't like it. And because I had a CT scan from going to the hospital the other day, I learned so much about my spine. And in the lower part of my spine, I've got 3 discs that are really, there's not much of them there. So every time I do bridging the way you're supposed to in Pilates, it's not conducive to my spine. Like my spine doesn't like it. And so I was telling my Pilates instructor this the other day, and she went, yeah, your body didn't like it. And I was like, my God, that's so fucking true. How many times do you go, I hate this, but your body's just going, dude, that one's not for us. So now, like, instead of rolling your spine, I just go, like she said, you need to do all of these moves in neutral. So you're not rolling your spine, and you're really working on my glutes like Arnie. That's my new thing, because I need to have, like, I'm asking for these strong glutes and really using my legs instead of using my lower spine. And so I'm just going up, neutral. As soon as I started doing that, I went, I love this move. And I was like, how interesting is that you just have this, I hate that, I hate that. Why don't you stop and ask yourself a question and come out of the definition of I hate it and go, okay, body, how would you like to do this movement? Like, what's actually going to work for you? Like, I was like, God damn, that's revolutionary.
Well, it's such a good example too of what we define as like, well, that's defined as the proper Pilates movement, or this is defined as something good to eat or a good relationship to have, none of which is a question.
Mm-mm.
None of which allows anything else. It's such a great example of that. Anything else to show up that's miraculous beyond the definition.
Yeah, well, and you said like that, like you mentioned food as well. Like I was talking to a friend the other day, and her son is just eating gallons of candy and chocolate and sugar at the moment. And what do we usually do as a parent? It's like she's going, oh, what do I use? Like this. But you start to define that is bad. And I went, hey, ask his body, does he need sugar? Because sometimes, he's growing. If you think a lot, like if you're one of those people who thinks a lot and uses your brain a lot, your body requires sugar. It doesn't care how it gets it, but it requires sugar. And I remember at one stage, I even used to do this thing of carrying those little packets of sugar around with me, not because I was like, I'm not eating sugar, but I didn't eat sugar for a long time. And then all of a sudden my body was like, hey, we'd like some sugar. Like, okay, and carry those little packets of sugar around with me so that I could receive the energy of it. Like if we're more in question, we are going to have a greater possibility show up in every area of our life. But the second we go to definition, you've just slammed everything shut. You've just created solid limitation.
Well, I know when I tend to go to definition, it's where I'm like trying to understand something. So then I try to define it so I can understand it, which then limits everything. But how do you look? What's another way to be with things rather than understanding? Like, what's awareness and that difference than doing definition and understanding?
I mean, being in question that's coming out of the understanding is being in question, and also being an allowance. It's I mean, I'll give you a good example with that is like if you look at relationships, so many relationships are, defined what's a good relationship, what's a bad relationship, what's a right relationship, what's a wrong relationship. I know myself growing up, I was on the era that, if you were like 25, 26 and you didn't have a boyfriend, it was like, oh, bit of a loser, Whereas nowadays it's like you can be single, you can be married, you can be with someone, you can have multiple partners, like all these different things. And I also don't get there's a hell of a lot of freedom there unless you choose it, because people are still defining that, oh, I'm fine with this. And it's like, no, you actually need to have a look. Are you fine with the situation? Like, don't try and create a reference point around you. And I think when we're trying to understand stuff, we so often look for a reference point to make sense to ourselves. And for myself, at a really young age, I was like, I'm not doing relationship. I don't see a good one. And it took me quite a while. It took meeting Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, and he started talking to me about relationships. And I was like, no, not doing it, not doing it. Like, loved having sex, but not doing relationship. And I'd, at one stage, I think, some of the people I hung out with would call me a 3-month wonder, because I would see someone for 3 months and go, thanks, that was great, bye, But for me, I was like, I didn't want to step into that, a relationship. And there's a whole lot of stuff you could unravel with that, of why I was choosing that. Yet the piece that I really got to was, I was looking outside of me as a and looking to others as a reference to what I could choose.
Yeah.
Stop it. It's like, there is no reference point for what you can choose. You just get to choose you. You get to choose you with relationship. You get to choose you with money, with business, with sex, with your body. It's like, what works for you? Like, I mean, we mentioned Pilates. Joseph Pilates was an amazing man who created, Pilates, and his whole theory behind it is incredible. And yet there's so many offshoots to it as well now. And it's like, what's your offshoot? Like, receive the information, but don't define it that is what you have to do. Ask, what can I be with this? Are you choosing for you today? That's my question at the moment. Am I choosing for me today?
I love that. And I love what you said, what's your offshoot? Because what am I choosing for me today? It's like, there are infinite offshoots that, if you're not doing definition or reference point, they all open up from those questions.
Well, this is a very random story, but I remember I don't remember because I wasn't alive, but in 1957 in Australia, they shut the patent office down, right? So anything new can be invented. They said nothing, when color TV came out, they said nothing new can be invented. This is it. We've pretty much reached our pinnacle. And they shut the patent office down for 6 months in Sydney.
Wow.
I know. Can you imagine that? So the Australian Patent Office has decided color TV, that's it. We've accomplished everything, But what if that's what you do? Like, you look at how many, like, marathon runners. What was the fastest marathon? But then someone superseded it.
Yeah.
So yeah, what offshoot are you not choosing that you could be choosing, because you're trying to function by other people's definitions and limitations? And everything that is times a godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it.
Yeah.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys, provids, and beyonds.
Yeah. If this is the warm up for the call, I'm a little excited.
I'm excited too. And I know there's a lot going on in the world. And, I deliberately made this call. It's 2 calls, like, for about an hour each, $88. That's a really low price for me to charge. I would usually charge, a lot more than that. And I have this really strong desire to, it's a low prereq as well, to get, or actually, I think it's no prereqs.
It's just bars, I think.
Bars, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I would really like to get these tools out to people, and for have every single person to know that they can choose something different. You do not have to live by the definitions that your family have projected upon you, that your friends have projected upon you, that your culture has projected upon you. You can undefine you and create something entirely different. So I know that there's really weird ass shit going on in the world, and there has been for quite some time. And what if we didn't even define that? And what if we reached further and beyond that and chose something different? Chose something that has, like, what if we added the joy and the humor and the happiness, and the vulnerability to our lives every single day? Yeah.
Yes, please. That's so beautiful. Cool.
You're beautiful.
Thank you.
You're not cold. It's going to be super hot here today.
I like overdress. It's now chilly, but when it starts to get a little cold and you're excited to wear, this is the first day I've worn a sweater. So I was a little excited.
Uh-huh.
You're in summer. We're now entering into, fall, winter.
Yeah. Because we're different, and we're always different. We've always been different. So stop trying to be the same as everybody else. And I'm sure we're going to put the link below to sign up for the call that I have coming up. It's next week, actually. So I don't know what day.
Yeah, it starts on the 19th in the US side of the world, and your 20th, 19th and 20th on Oz side.
I mean, how much do you define yourself by? Like, this is how intricate it can get. Do you define yourself by the day of the week it is? Like today, it's a Wednesday. What does Wednesday mean to you? And you start, like, the guy who cleans my car yesterday, he said something, and I completely forgot that it was his day to come clean my car. And I went, "Oh, sorry, Grady." And then he goes, "Yeah, but your life is so different." And he said, "It must be interesting for you traveling and doing all that." And I went, "Yeah." And I said, "You know when people do that thing and go, 'How was your weekend?' And I think, fuck, what day is it? What did I do on the weekend?"
Yeah.
I have
What I
no
do in the week,
idea.
because it doesn't define
Yeah.
your the rest of your week. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But it's like, I know growing up in Australia, it was like, Friday, there was a definition that you went out and got drunk. That's what you
Right.
did. Saturday, you went out and got drunker. Sunday, you might even have a Sunday session. And Monday is usually being defined as, oh, back to work.
Oh my gosh.
Times have changed, and it's like, but how often, if I look at my life, I loved work. I loved my job. Like Gary said to me the other day, you forgot to hate business. Like you didn't make it, business for you is ease, joy, and glory. You forgot that.
You forgot
And
to eat it. Oh my God.
yeah, but most people on a Monday when I grew up would be like, "Oh, Monday, 5 more days to go until the weekend." And I'd always be like, "Monday, like, oh, we got the whole week to create." And a
Yeah.
friend of mine once said to me, "Gosh, you make me sick how much job satisfaction you get." Because it was different. And
Yeah.
how often are you trying to define yourselves by other people's realities and other people's choices because you're trying so hard not to be normal and not be different? You are different. You're not normal. So stop it and have way too much friggin' fun and come join us because the title of the class, I think, is Change Your Life, Lose Your Definitions.
Yeah.
Change your life, lose your definitions. Let's go. I'm
Let's
ready.
go. I will be there. You guys are invited. The link is below. And thank you I like always getting the backstory from you of like where these calls come from, and what's in your world, because that when we experience it and have this different like interaction with that energy, that's such a contribution. So I know that's why I was like pulling, okay, what was going on in your world when you chose this? So thank you for like sharing that here too, because that's such an invitation.
Thank you so much, Em. Big
Thank you.
hugs. It's been a long time since I've hugged you.
I know. Soon,
Are you
summer.
coming to Australia
I don't
for?
know. Especially the more cold it gets here, the more it's like, that sounded pretty good in February,
I know. I actually have here's sorry, quick one. I have an advanced body class in the early December in Noosa, Australia, right? And we have a thread for it, you're creating the class, etc. And Simone Zucker, who's from Germany, pinged me yesterday and said, "Hey, I'm coming to Noosa for your advanced body class." And I went, "Oh my God, they just made my day." And then I know Ratandeep from India and Kiran are coming as well. And I realized how much you create like a class like this, ABC, because it's not online, obviously. You're on massage tables and you're there live in person. It's in Noosa. In December, I realized how much I had defined, and I've got a bigger world than most. I
Yeah.
had still defined that the people who would come to this class were living here, down under. And I went last night, I was like, wow, let's open this class up to the entirety of the world, And it's so quick that we will create a definition of something, which then creates the limitation.
So fast.
Yeah.
Rather than going,
Let's
of
let it go.
course, if you're in a cold part of the world too, you're like, what sounds yummier than being in Noosa in summer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beach,
I would like to give up all those definitions and that quick and it's so fast. And then the things that come from it are the limitations. And I'd like less definition, more miracles.
Yeah. Less definition, more miracles. Love it. Good tagline.
Thank you so
With
much.
ease, joy, and glory. Yeah.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. All right. So I will do the hanging up here, but thank you, Em, for being on here. And thank you, translators. You guys are amazing. Everyone.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
On this. Yeah.
Bye, everybody.